Welcome to Rockingham for rounds 9, 10 and 11 of the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. Adam Southgate heads the main championship in the Boxsters, but it's in the 924s where the championship battle is really heating up. Second in championship, Gavin Johnson, you're on pole position today for the first race. It's going to be quite a tough battle out there.
Yeah, I think so. Hugh's really improved. He did really well at Cadwell Park. He got his first win, so I'm sure he's confident. But yeah, so am I. I'm on pole by 2 seconds. Lap record holder here. I won here last year, so I'm confident. Yeah, looking forward to the race.
As you say, pace is strong. It's lap record holding pace. It's got to be yours for the taking.
It's racing, isn't it? Anything can happen. I know that better than anyone. I had a throttle cable at Cadwell when I was 13 seconds down the road. So, no, we'll take it as it comes. You know, I'll try and get a good start, get a couple of laps under my belt and see where I end up. But, yeah, confident.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there, Gavin. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. It's now over to our commentary team to take you through the grid for race 1.
Thanks, Lloyd. This is going to be an interesting one. Adam Southgate on the front row of the grid from Kevin Molyneux, with Jesse Chamberlain and Gary Goodwin on row 2. Gary Lawrence and Nick Hull in the top 6 from Kevin Ludford and Philip Churchill. Rounding out the top 10 is Andrew Baker and Jamie Callender making his first start in a Boxster. Bowden's on his own in the production Boxsters, with Gavin Johnson, Hugh Pert and Richard Matthews tied in behind. Carl Rosson is joining in from race 2, and James Coleman blew his engine in testing yesterday and doesn't even take up the start. More on that later, but Kevin Molyneux's got a flyer off the line here at Rockingham as he charges into the lead in front of Adam Southgate. Looks as though Jesse Chamberlain's going to get Gary Lawrence to his left side through the first corner as they sweep through the banking. No problem at all. Nick Hull trying to get on the inside there to move up into the top 5 as Adam Southgate goes the long way round Kevin Molyneux to move up shortly if he cuts across at Dean Eben into the lead. I think he's overshot. He's going to go off the circuit and Gary Lawrence is going to take second place. So a good start then from Kevin Molyneux, but Adam Southgate off the road. Now he's going to try and find his way back in his second position. There he goes. So Gary Lawrence has to slot back into third position. There's Kevin Ludford chasing after the 46 of Gary Goodwin. Now, Jesse Chamberlain is trying to get into third position, making the move on Gary Lawrence. Hasn't been able to get that done yet. Nick Hull, though, has been able to put his Union flag Boxster in 5th position off the start, so not a bad getaway as Gary Lawrence protects the inside line from Jesse Chamberlain as they come on to the straight up towards Gracelands once again. Here at Rockingham, a great return for the championship. Always enjoy coming to Rockingham. But out in front it is Dolly Molly who leads the way after a spectacular getaway. Adam Southgate is not going to be too long in trying to make the attempt to go through. He sells him the dummy there, goes right round the outside. He has a try, but Kevin Molyneux is going to hold on to it on that inside line. Jesse Chamberlain tries the same trick on Gary Lawrence, and there's not a lot of room to manoeuvre. But now Southgate is going to be side by side with Kevin Molyneux. He decides, do you know what, I'm going to slot in behind Adam Southgate and hold on to second position for the time being. So finally Adam Southgate through into the lead again. And, well, this is going to be a very difficult day at the office for the others because, of course, Adam Southgate is now in a position to disappear and check out in front, especially now that James Coleman, the 00, who is his closest championship opposition, blew his engine yesterday in the testing sessions. And obviously, when the head gasket blows, that is pretty much a dead engine. So now, unfortunately, Coleman is sat on the sidelines as a spectator watching this race unfold. Dolly Molly, Kevin Molyneux himself is still there in second place. Then it's Gary Lawrence. Fourth position is the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain, still having an amazing first season in the Toyo Tires Porsche Boxster Championship as he holds on to that third position for the time being. Fourth position, sorry. In there behind Lawrence, they go through Yentwood, up the steep climb, and up in towards Chapman Curve. It's steeper than people give that credit for. I've walked this circuit several times and you don't really appreciate the undulation changes and the peaks and troughs around this particular part of the circuit as well. Piff path up to the Rockingham Curve. Always very difficult to gauge that from what the television pictures give you, but it is a bit harder to walk around this circuit than a lot of people believe. They think it's just a flat, straight circuit. It's not quite as easy as that. As up through Gracelands they come once again. The 93, Gary Lawrence in there. battling away with the 44 still of Jesse Chamberlain. A cracking start this from Gary Lawrence from 5th on the grid. Has got himself up into 3rd place with a stellar launch off the line. Once again, he has been looking very strong in the 2018 season. And Gary Lawrence living up to that expectation still. 6th position just behind this lot is Philip Churchill. Then it's Kevin Ludford as he tries to get further out in front of the 46 of Gary Goodwin, who's having a really difficult first race of the weekend, has to be said, from what was initially 4th on the grid. Look how close Chamberlain is able to get to Gary Lawrence, though, as they come off the final turn and onto the home stretch once again. This is going to be very interesting as the 93 Gary Lawrence is going to hold on to this advantage, already being chased by Jesse Chamberlain, but Nick Hull looks very hungry for it here, the number 4. He's got a new front bumper, you can tell, to the car because it's a completely different colour to the rest of the machine. Normally that would be a blue bumper. Here comes Jesse Chamberlain trying to go round the outside at Dean Hairpin, and both of them have overshot. Dear oh dear, that's the kitty litter. They both re-emerge, but Nick Hull manages to snatch 3rd position off both of them. So they were trying to play chicken on the brake pedal. Both of them got it wrong. So Gary Lawrence gets there in front of Jesse Chamberlain still, and the 46 of Gary Goodwin now has a chance to close up on them. Here's the 924 battle. Hugh Pert is having the season of his life right now, isn't he? And still Gavin Johnson, lap record holder as we've said, is pushing hard to try and get through, and has not quite been able to do so yet. Back to the battle for 4th position. A lap ago this was for 3rd. Nick Hull has got past them both, of course, after they overshot at Dean Hairpin. Gary Lawrence still there in front of the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain, and Gary Goodwin in the 46 coming for good company as they get down towards Yentwood once again. Down towards Gracelands once again. They go through the left-hander. Very easy to run wide off the circuit at this point. Down the short stretch towards Tarzan, and Gavin Johnson looks as though he's going to time the move into the left-hander past Hugh Pert. Hugh Pert shutting the door beautifully there. This is going to be a long race battle between these two, and that is Gary Lawrence again shutting the door on Jesse Chamberlain in their bid for 4th position. Gary Goodwin is still there in P6, trying to get his move up into the top 5. But Jesse Chamberlain is keeping the car very nicely planted at the moment. Oh, he's going to go for a late lunge on Lawrence. Nicely shut the door there, Gary. Beautifully done. So Jesse Chamberlain giving Gary Lawrence all sorts of pressure. That was a late chance from Jesse Chamberlain. Wasn't quite able to take good advantage of it in the end, so had to yield. But that just shows you how tough the battle is in this championship. So Gary Lawrence in the 93 in 4th place, but it's a good run this time from Jesse Chamberlain. He's going to get alongside before Lawrence even realises he's got the run into the braking zone for Dean. Get it stopped this time, gentlemen. They both do so, but into 4th position has gone Jesse Chamberlain, so he's back where he started. Oh, big puff of smoke from Nick Hull up the road. What was that? That was going up through the gears on the run to Yentwood. So a big puff of smoke from Nick Hull. I hope that's not a terminal problem, because he certainly wasn't on the brakes at that point. But something clearly coughed and spluttered in the number 4 machine. It's the 44 machine we're watching there very briefly, Jesse Chamberlain. Now we're back with the leading battle again for the 924s as Hugh Pert takes the wider line through Dean Hairpin. Gavin Johnson still putting him under pressure. This battle looks like it's going to go all the way to the finish line. Out of the left-hander and down and over the crest, up towards the left-hander for Gracelands. And Kevin Molyneux just taking it nice and easy. He doesn't have to push too hard here as he just keeps the car rolling through. He's got a massive gap to make up to Adam Southgate, but with time running out, that is not his prime focus at the moment. His attention is on getting to the checkered flag in good fashion as Adam Southgate is about to go onto the last lap of this first race of the weekend from Rockingham. It started pretty frenetically. It's got pretty quiet since then, but hey, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. And this is a good start to the weekend for our race leader Adam Southgate, who is coming up to lap Gavin Johnson as he goes into his final lap around the Rockingham circuit. He's going to dive past. Gavin Johnson's not going to put up any resistance at all. What would be the point? He lets Adam Southgate go, and our two class leaders are on the same bit of racetrack together as Gavin Johnson overshoots a little bit at Dean Hairpin, but he's got enough space over Hugh Pert to be fairly comfortable. So it looks good for Gavin Johnson to pick up another victory in the 924 class, and for Adam Southgate, he will continue his winning streak of all but one races won this year in the 2018 Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. It's been a really commanding performance, and there is Jamie Callender in front of Adam Southgate, who I get the feeling is looking very likely to be lapped before we get to the end of this lap. But Adam Southgate, this is a 2018 season where he is basically just letting every race unfold in front of him. He's controlling the car perfectly. There's no major issues or difficulties that we can foresee with this particular car in 2018. Whatever niggling little technical difficulties they had that robbed a massive amount of points from Adam Southgate through the season seem to have been tackled very quickly. And there goes Southgate lapping Jamie Callender at Tarzan. So this is going to be a very pleasant end to the first race for Adam Southgate, who's going to win the race at a canter. Look back and you can see Gavin Johnson, but it's going to take quite a while to look back for Kevin Molyneux in second place. Not that either he or Adam is going to care about that in the slightest. Adam Southgate, out of the final turn here at Rockingham, is victorious in every single circuit we've been to now. He won at Alton, he won at Knockhill, he won at Cadwell, and now he's won at Rockingham. Great result there for Adam Southgate. Jamie Callender crosses the line behind him, although I would not at all be surprised if the stewards take a dim view of him racing without a roof or windscreens, as Gavin Johnson takes the 924 victory. And look at Kevin Molyneux, side by side with the man in second place in the 924 class, Hugh Pert, and absolutely elated. Jesse Chamberlain in third from Lawrence, Hull and Goodwin, with Ludford, Churchill and Baker the only other finishers, as Callender is indeed excluded, with Gavin Johnson in front of Hugh Pert and Richard Matthews in the 924 class. A cracking start to the weekend here at Rockingham.
Adam, a tough race out, especially that opening lap. It looked like you got bogged down a little bit from the start.
Yeah, I didn't have the best start, to be honest with you, and Kev had a flyer. I didn't react to the light going out, I reacted to Kev moving, which isn't usually the best. But luckily managed to get back past him and then pulled a gap. I think Kev had a fantastic race as well to bring home second place, so thrilled for him. It's good stuff.
Kev, that was a fantastic opening lap, but Adam just caught you there in the last corner, didn't he?
Oh, mate, I had a great start, absolutely amazing start. Adam just don't know what happened on the start, managed to sneak my way in, and then turn 3 or 4, he was all over me again and got his way through, and that was it, away we went from there.
Gavin, we spoke to you before the race and you were predicting a win, and here you are, but I think that was a little bit closer than you were expecting.
Yeah, before we get onto that, I'd just like to thank the sponsors for putting us here, really. SR Electrical and PDC, Howdens and Toyo and a number of others, who all put a lot of time and money into the car to get us out racing. So without them, I certainly won't be on the top step. So I'm grateful for that. I can get that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, a little bit closer than you were expecting. It was quite fought there for a while.
Yeah, first few laps, got a reasonable start, and Hugh just got a little bit of a jump into turn 2. Yeah, I was comfortable behind him where I was just waiting for a gap and worked it up on the infield, and yeah, it was coming, I think.
Welcome back to Rockingham, the 4th weekend in the 2018 Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. It's a much sunnier start to the day for day 2 of the action. Southgate and Molyneux on the front row from Chamberlain and Lawrence, with Nick Hull and Gary Goodwin in the top 6. Ludford and Churchill and Andrew Baker and Jamie Callender rounding out the top 10 from Lee Bowden in the production Boxster. Gavin Johnson, Hugh Pert and Richard Matthews are joined for this second race of the weekend by Carl Rossin, who had work commitments for race 1, couldn't attend. Red lights are on, they're out now for Rockingham, and away we go. It's another good start by Kevin Molyneux, but not as good this time as Adam Southgate, who's got the perfect textbook getaway as they go through the banking for the first time. And round the outside of Jesse Chamberlain, Gary Lawrence asserts himself into 3rd position in front of Ludford and Nick Hull, with Gary Goodwin trying to come round the outside of Nick Hull. Baker's having a good run there with Philip Churchill too, as they break down for Dean Hairpin. And a very interesting first lap. This could end up being Southgate getting a little bit deep through that Dean Hairpin, and Johnson goes straight into the lead of the 924s in front of Hugh Pert and Carl Rossin. So Rossin, despite missing all of qualifying and race 1, is right up to speed and battling for 3rd position. What if he gets a win despite no testing at all? That really would be impressive from Carl Rossin, and he's one of the drivers who can do that. So here they come up through Piff Paff, left and right. Southgate, Molyneux, Lawrence, Chamberlain, Ludford is the top 5 at the moment. So as they come through on this very much sunnier start to the day for the Sunday's action here. Yesterday's race was a particularly good one, but now we are battling for the action once more here. The sunshine much hotter over the course of the 2018 weekend here at Rockingham. The British Racing and Sports Car Club putting on all sorts of great racing this weekend, but the Porsche's doing a great job as Southgate goes into Tarzan for the first time. Then it is Molyneux, Lawrence, Chamberlain, and Nick Hull throws it up the inside of Kevin Ludford. Now, did he get that car stopped on the apex, or is Ludford going to be back alongside him? Nick Hull's going to draw across. Yes, he did. Good driving from Nick Hull. He may have overshot a little bit there in the braking zone, but he did get the car stopped and straightened up in plenty of time to avoid Kevin Ludford coming back through. So a neat little manoeuvre there from Nick Hull, and crisis definitely averted for the moment as they come out out of the final turn and back onto the main straight once more, and Adam Southgate leads. Kevin Molyneux second, Gary Lawrence third. Deja vu, this is practically Groundhog Day 2 as they come through this time. Jesse Chamberlain and Nick Hull through the top 5, and through that first corner on the banking they come once again, and you do not want to lose it there. We've actually had a pretty good record this weekend for drivers staying out of the wall on that far side. I seem to remember last year it was a bit tougher as Nick Hull gets very late into the brakes there, trying to chase down Jesse Chamberlain as they come out of Dean Hairpin up towards the right-hander at Yentwood. So they tuck in for the square right, plenty of curb on the exit as you go slightly up the crest, and then you come back over the top of it as you go into Chapman Curve through the right-hander, and then back on the power through Piff Paff. You've got to balance the throttle here very carefully, not too much on the brakes, left and right, and then up towards the Rockingham Curve into the right-hander at the far side of the sports car configuration of the Rockingham Circuit. I do love this facility. It's an absolutely brilliant racetrack. It's such a shame that since Champ Cars last visited here in 2002, it's never quite been able to live up to that same promise as its original intention, although of course the biggest crowd ever seen at Rockingham was back in the British Formula 3 days when they came here with the Sugar Babes performing in the middle of that pit complex. They used to have all sorts of bands playing on the big Days of Thunder race days, I seem to remember, and when British GT and Formula 3 ran here in 2005, they brought the Sugar Babes along, and there was a very nearly sell-out capacity in the grandstands that weekend. So there is Jesse Chamberlain trying to shake off the attentions of Nick Hull as they come off the final turn. Gary Lawrence there in third position as they come back onto the home stretch. Look at Kevin Molyneux disappearing out in front, looking for another second place finish, and he'll be absolutely delighted if he can get there. There was more karaoke singing of Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 last night after Kevin Molyneux grabbed his highest ever finish in the championship, hence the nickname Dolly Molly. That's where it comes from for those who are uneducated and don't quite know what we're talking about when we call him Dolly Molly. He's learned to love the nickname over time. It didn't take him too long, to be perfectly blunt, as he comes into Yentwood out in front of Gary Lawrence, the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain and the 4 of Nick Hull. And those three are going to be absolutely glued bumper to bumper through this race, battling for third position. If the start of this race is anything to go by, they're getting a very good run as they come up through Piff Paff, left, right, up towards the braking zone for the Rockingham Curve into the right-hander. They can just about duck out of the braking zone, and Jesse Chamberlain overshoots there, manages to get the car stopped as he comes back through, but that could have been very difficult indeed. Out in the lead though, no major dramas for Adam Southgate, who leads Kevin Molyneux. This is the battle for third between Gary Lawrence, Jesse Chamberlain and Nick Hull as they continue to battle away. Now, Nick Hull in fifth position does have a good opportunity here to just watch what these two are getting up to and react to it. As look, Gary Lawrence overshoots a little bit into Tarzan. Jesse Chamberlain getting a little bit hungry to make the way through into third position. And Nick Hull is actually in the box seat in this little battle because he's sat there in fifth position watching Gary, watching Jesse as they battle away for their position. They can see where both of the two drivers are vulnerable and make gains to counteract it. As Jesse Chamberlain gets a bit of a squiggle out of that final corner as he gets back on the power, has to get back in the tow of Gary Lawrence, otherwise he's going to lose so much time in a straight line, especially when that man behind him with the Union flag on the bonnet, Nick Hull, is in the slipstream, having had a good exit out the turn. And so Jesse Chamberlain will need to tag onto the back of Gary Lawrence in the slipstream to avert Nick Hull from coming through, and that's exactly what he's done. He brakes a little bit later than Gary Lawrence, and that makes the racing just that little bit more intriguing between these two because they are trading corner speeds and sector times. Gary Lawrence shuts the door. Jesse Chamberlain actually looked like he nudged the number 93 in front of him there as he got onto the brakes, just trying to move across the line. So Jesse Chamberlain and 93, Gary Lawrence, just a little bit of a love tap between them there, I think, as they went into Yentwood. Up through Piff Paff and up towards the left-hander. Jesse Chamberlain now looking to really stamp his authority on third position. Ideally, he wants to get through and start to jog after Kevin Molyneux in second place overall. But it looks as though the number 5 is going to have 2 second places in a row here, because these guys, while battling for third position very brilliantly, are basically impeding each other in the battle, because every time they go for an overtaking move and they have to back out of it, they have to let the draft go with Jesse Chamberlain up the inside. Gary Lawrence is going to get straight back on the inside on the switchback. That was brilliant reactive driving from Gary Lawrence. He knew that Jesse Chamberlain was going to throw it up the inside. He said, okay mate, have the corner, you're going to overshoot it. And now Nick Hull's going to get alongside Jesse Chamberlain to try and get into the position of fourth for the number 4 into the Brook chicane, but he hasn't quite been able to do that. He has to now hang back again and allow Jesse Chamberlain to tag back onto the tail of the man in third place, Gary Lawrence. But that was really good reactionary driving from Gary Lawrence, who saw that Jesse Chamberlain was on the inside. He said, okay, you go. He braked a little bit early, which kind of caught Jesse Chamberlain out, and that meant he missed his braking point by a metre or so, and that was enough for Gary Lawrence to get the pendulum swing switchback back on the inside and take that third place once more. Really good driving from Gary Lawrence. He's stepped up a gear in 2018 as they slide their way through Dean Hairpin, the tyres squealing as they go through. Clearly the driver's putting a lot of hard work. Oh, and Nick Hull's got big smoke out of the back of the car. That's what happened in race 1 at exactly the same place. Now, that wasn't just me seeing things that time. He really did have big smoke that time round. Look, you can see the puff of smoke in the background. What was that? I still don't really have a clue as to what the point, what the car was trying to get a point across there. Was that stop pushing me quite so hard, Nick, I've had enough, or did something go down the wrong tube? Not entirely sure, but that's a massive puff of smoke for Nick Hull. He's not slowing down any, but that almost looked to me like an engine blow. And then he's just continued on again. Very peculiar scenes here at Rockingham as they come through greystands, back down the short stretch towards the right-hander at Tarzan. Lawrence sends him to the left side of the circuit there. Chamberlain's going to have to go round the outside. And he goes a little bit wide as he tries to react to Gary Lawrence getting the inside back. Nick Hull's going to get alongside him, and he's going to try and squeeze him out. Is there enough room for both of them to play with? This is going to be very interesting as up the inside. There is going to go the 44 of Jesse Chamberlain as he gets through on the inside of Nick Hull. There's Kevin Ludford in front of Philip Churchill. So Churchill trying to come the long way round and outbrake into Dean Hairpin. Ludford's going to brake far too early, but Churchill's going to brake far too late. So that's basically one of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it? Adam Southgate certainly feels so at the moment as he is about to go into his last lap as Nick Hull tries to go round the outside at Tarzan on Gary Lawrence. Now he's going to tuck up to the inside as they come onto the score straight. Back on the power, up through the gears. Still a little bit of breathing space between the two of them, but not much. So down in the braking zone for Brooke. Gary Lawrence hangs onto the inside for the left, into the right. And let's be fair, Nick Hull is not close enough really to throw the car up the inside without risking an accident, so he hangs back for a moment, but he's got a great exit off the final turn. Nick Hull's going to be side by side with Lawrence down the home straight. Adam Southgate's on the verge of victory, but those two still challenging for third place, and it's going to be interesting to see which one of them is going to get on the podium this time. Is it going to be a straight replication of what we saw in race 1 with Southgate, Molyneux and Gary Lawrence? But now we are going to see Adam Southgate on his cruise control run to the flag. Tried to squint there in the background and see if I could see Kevin Molyneux. I couldn't, but Kevin's still going to be delighted with second place in the second race in a row. But a victory for Adam Southgate, not necessarily inevitable, but certainly quite predictable in the 2018 season. And again, those brake issues that befell him in the 2017 running of this meeting have definitely not come back to haunt him in the 2018 season. So he's driving very smartly indeed and keeping the car on the straight and narrow as he comes down the score straight for the last time, and he's going to make it 2 in a row. The big challenge will be in the mandatory pit stop race, whether he can make it a hat-trick of victories, but it's certainly looking neat and tidy for the 45 of Adam Southgate as he comes into the final hairpin, back on the power, out onto the pit straight, and Adam Southgate makes it 2 wins out of 2 here at Rockingham. A great achievement once more, a brilliant result, and he can be very happy indeed with that. Southgate takes the win from Molyneux and Gary Lawrence, 3/10 ahead of Nick Hull. Chamberlain is 5th from Goodwin with Churchill, Ludford and Baker. A retirement sadly for Jamie Callender. Lee Bowden on his own in the production class, and Gavin Johnson beating Hugh Pert and Carl Rossin with Richard Matthews in 4th place. The fastest man in 924s was Hugh Pert.
Adam, 2 wins from 2 races this weekend at Rockingham. It's kind of hogging it a bit, isn't it?
It is a little bit, yeah, but it's nice to see you again. We have a lot of these chats, don't we? Yeah, it was, again, a good start this race, thank God. So I was able to pull the gap, and then I think there's a battle behind Kevin as well. So it was quite a nice, easy win, to be honest with you. It was a nice one for it.
Kevin, 2 second places from the 2 races here at Rockingham. You must be pleased with yourself.
Oh yeah, as we said yesterday, yeah, superb, great race. And I had a great start again and away we went, but yeah, really, really pleased.
Hugh, congratulations on another 2nd place. Made some changes to the car overnight, I understand, and did they give you what you were expecting?
Honestly, we had a bit of a panic in the assembly area, couldn't get any gears, so I was late onto the grid. So the start was a bit of a, oh my God, am I really racing? So yeah, we've rebalanced the tyres, no more brakes. So the start was just a bit chaotic.
It's time for the 3rd race at the Rockingham Speedway for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. This time, not only do we have a reverse grid, but there's a pit stop included. Between minutes 7 and 14, the cars will have to come in, and there are 2 Velcro strips on the cars that need to be removed. Andy, you're starting in pole position, and this extra bit of pit stop tactics is really going to make the life of you guys interesting.
Yep, and our pit crew as well. We've all got to be on the ball, ready to go at a minute's notice. As soon as that 7 minutes is up, our pits are going to call us in, and the G&H car is going to hopefully come in nice and clean without speeding and get out nice and clean and carry on with the race. But it puts another aspect to the race. It's really going to be exciting.
And as you say, that's something else that you guys have got to consider is the pit lane speed limit. Not something you normally have to worry about in a race. It's really going to open this up.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful because the penalties are quite high. So it's worth just making sure that you don't go over the speed limit at all and get a nice clean exit and get back on the pace.
We wish you all the best out there. We'll let you get in the car and get ready for going out onto the grid. It's time to take you to our commentary team to talk you through this exciting race.
Thanks, Lloyd. The 3rd and final race of the weekend. I can't wait for this. It's reverse grid and mandatory pit stop. Baker and Ludford in front of Churchill and Goodwin at the front end from Chamberlain and Nick Hull. Gary Lawrence and Kevin Molyneux with Adam Southgate alongside Jamie Callender. Lee Bowden in the production Boxster. And then it's Richard Matthews from Carl Rossin, Hugh Pert and Gavin Johnson in the 924 class. So reverse grid, watch this start. It's going to be the most action-packed of the weekend. On board with Nick Hull and Gary Lawrence from the starting grid of this one. 5-second board goes up. This is going to be action-packed and fever pitch from the off. Reverse grid, so there's going to be a few drivers making incredible getaways. Let's race at Rockingham. Good start straight away from Nick Hull, who's going to blast forward past Ludford, past Baker, past everybody. And Nick Hull's going to try and get into the lead with Jesse Chamberlain there to the inside line as well. Here comes Molyneux round the outside of Goodwin. They go through the banking, and Gary Lawrence is on the inside. We're on board with him as he's there in 3rd position. Nick Hull is trying to keep Jesse Chamberlain behind him. Where's Southgate? There he is into 5th position. So Lawrence is trying to get into 3rd, and up the inside, Southgate gets past Molyneux, up into 4th position. We're on board with Gary Lawrence as Nick Hull leads the way here at Rockingham in front of Jesse Chamberlain. Then it's Lawrence, Southgate, Molyneux, Goodwin up the inside of Churchill. Then it is Callender in front of Baker, Ludford and Bowden. As they come through Chapman Curve, Nick Hull sliding about in the lead of the race here as they go into Piff Paff on the brakes in the left, through the right, and now Nick Hull is trying to keep in front of Jesse Chamberlain. Now in the 7th minute of the race, the pit lane will open, and they've got to remove that Velcro strap from the front windscreen and the rear windscreen. We'll talk about that in more detail as we get closer to the time, but that's obviously on the back of their minds. They want to get into a decent track position, as Southgate now has on the tail of Gary Lawrence into 4th position, but they want to get a good track position as possible in order to get the pit stops as smooth as possible, as Chamberlain makes the move to try and get into the lead there at Tarzan, and Southgate has used the momentum to get on the inside of Gary Lawrence and sweep by onto the school straight. The final race of the weekend, and it looks like it's going to be the best one yet, as Southgate has completed the first lap as he comes through the Brook chicane in 3rd position from 9th on the grid. So a cracking start from Southgate. Molyneux likewise has come up from 8th position on the starting grid up into 5th. So he is going absolutely brilliantly here at Rockingham, and now he's going to try and get the switch back on Gary Lawrence, although he slots in behind him for the time being. Nick Hull, though, is your race leader. Just before we get to the pit stop phase, Jesse Chamberlain in 2nd, but coming right round the outside. Can he get the run to Dean Hairpin? There's enough of a gap between the two of them that it shouldn't be too much of a difficulty. Down into the braking zone, Chamberlain's going to hold it right round the outside, and he takes the lead. Brilliant racing from Chamberlain. He now leads in front of Nick Hull and Adam Southgate. Terrific driving, and now Southgate's going to get straight on with this up the inside of Nick Hull. Out of Yentwood, he's not quite there, but he's going to continue to commit to the inside line for Chapman. Throws it up the inside, and Nick Hull has to let him go. Good driving from Southgate up into second place. This is the thing, he's not just dominant when he gets into the lead of the race, he's also good at carving his way through the traffic to get back into the front of the race. But it's now Jesse Chamberlain who leads, and that, by my book, makes it 4 different race leaders over the course of the weekend, because we had Kevin Molyneux take the initial lead off the start of the first race. Southgate took the lead from him at the end of that first lap. Nick Hull obviously getting the best start and going into the lead of this race until Jesse Chamberlain made the break. I think this is the first time Jesse Chamberlain has led a race this season, and it's not going to be too long before he's winning them. As there goes Gary Lawrence in the 93, battling away there with Kevin Molyneux for 4th position as Nick Hull remains intact for 3rd place. Southgate's going to try and get a look at Jesse Chamberlain, but he's got plenty of time to do this. He's not going to rush it, especially knowing that Jesse Chamberlain still very new to the car. If anybody is more likely statistically to make a mistake, I suppose you could argue it could be Jesse Chamberlain, as Southgate gets alongside him anyway. They come down the main straight and over the start-finish line, and that's Southgate into the lead. So Chamberlain's lead only lasting the majority of the second lap before Southgate gets into the lead. Now, if Adam Southgate can pull away again and get himself further into the lead, then that's going to be his best possible chance of wrapping up the race at the pit stop window, as Chamberlain tries to go deep into Dean Hairpin and get past him around the outside anyway. Hasn't been able to do that. Nick Hull in 3rd still from Gary Lawrence and Kevin Molyneux. Still in there as they battle away for 3rd, 4th and 5th. But the Hull-Lawrence-Molyneux battle has been quite a good one all through the 2018 season, and they've all had turns in front of each other as Lawrence is there through Chapman Curve. He's taken a bit of a wide line. I thought maybe we were going to get Kevin Molyneux up the inside then, but clearly that wasn't his moment. But Southgate still leads here with Jesse Chamberlain learning like a sponge here at the moment, soaking up all that knowledge of following the race leader Adam Southgate, who is the benchmark for good pace in the 2018 season, and he's doing an absolutely terrific job here, so the more he can do, the better. And oh, that's Nick Hull, and who's that in front of us going wide? That's Jesse Chamberlain. Chamberlain's gone off at Gracelands there. So Hull is through into 2nd place. Can Chamberlain get the car stopped by Tarzan? He's got damage to the car as a result of going off. So Lawrence is now going to tuck back for the inside of Tarzan. They're going to be side by side down the score straight. And also trying to come through there is Gary Lawrence. So Gary Lawrence squeezes across and into 4th position. Nick Hull is doing a great job there in 3rd position in front of Lawrence and Jesse Chamberlain. So Jesse Chamberlain initially there in 2nd position, but now, that's Nick Hull in 2nd. 3rd is 93 of Gary Lawrence. Then 4th is Jesse Chamberlain. 5th is Kevin Molyneux. That was getting a bit confused there. Adam Southgate stretching away out in front with Hull, Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux all battling away for that next position on the podium. 2nd and 3rd place up for grabs. And still, any one of these 4 drivers could end up in P2. And then, of course, that 3rd position is still up for grabs, as well as Hull protects the inside line at Tarzan Hairpin very well indeed. Hanging on there in front of Gary Lawrence, who is still pushing very hard. Jesse Chamberlain in 4th place and Kevin Molyneux in 5th position. Now, as we get closer to the 7th minute of the race, which is going to come at the end of this lap, basically, let's talk you through the pit stop procedures. We're right on board with Gary Lawrence into Piff-Paff. The pit stop window will open, and looking at the time frame, I think that Adam Southgate has pulled enough in front of Nick Hull that it's actually going to be Nick Hull who sees the pit lane window open board first, rather than Adam Southgate. Just trying to do the calculations quickly. I think Southgate will actually drive past before we get to the 7th minute of the race. Now, when the pit stop opens, that is when drivers can come into the pits to make their mandatory pit stop. A single mechanic must then take the Velcro strip off of the windscreen at the front and the back. They can do it in either order, it doesn't matter, and then they signal their driver to go. They're not allowed to speed in the pits, of course. They must not impede another driver on their way into the pits. They've got to be very careful about how they do it tactically, and it adds a whole new and very interesting and diverse element into the championship here at the mandatory pit stop race, as Lawrence again tries to get on the inside of Nick Hull. It's not going to happen on this particular occasion. And as they come across the line, I want to look up and see, is there the board out? Yes, it is. The pit lane is open, and everybody from 2nd down has seen it. Adam Southgate is not, so he's going to have to carry on an additional lap before he sees that the pit lane window is open. You're not allowed to pit in until you have seen the pit lane window open board. Now, you can pit any time you like before the 13th minute. It's Jesse Chamberlain charges up the inside of Nick Hull and has gone right off the circuit, gets himself back into position again, tucked in behind Kevin Molyneux. Oh dear, Gary Lawrence that was, sorry, overshooting, not Jesse Chamberlain. But Gary Lawrence gets it all back together again and drops to the back of the queue for the moment. So Gary Lawrence running a little bit deep and has got himself back into position in 5th place once more. Well, that was a little bit hectic. He somehow got away with that one, but Nick Hull still there in 2nd position in front of Jesse Chamberlain, Kevin Molyneux and Gary Lawrence. So Chamberlain overshooting, Gary Lawrence getting a little bit worse for wear, and now Jesse Chamberlain's going to throw it up the inside for 2nd position in front of Nick Hull, and that's been beautifully manhandled there at Gracelands. So Jesse Chamberlain into 2nd position behind Adam Southgate. Now they're closing up on Richard Matthews to put a lap on the 94 driver. Here comes Kevin Molyneux up the inside of Nick Hull. Ooh, very heavy braking there from Molyneux to avoid going into the door of Nick Hull. As now Gary Lawrence is going to... Oh, whoops, I was going to say he was going to get alongside Kevin Molyneux. They actually brushed wheel arches there as they come down the school straight. They're both going to try and get on the inside of Richard Matthews without problems, and they have done so. So there you go, the pit lane window is open and Nick Hull is straight in. He's the first one to take the mandatory pit stop in the 2018 Toyo Tires Porsche Championship here at Rockingham. He's the first one to do it. You can see one of the officials is there on the pit straight with a speed gun to make sure that the drivers are not breaking the speed limit. I saw 2 more drivers come into the pits as well. I think one of them was Richard Matthews. The other one is Gary Goodwin. So here we go. Stop. Rear Velcro off, front Velcro off, and off we go. That's a perfect stop for Nick Hull. He's not allowed to speed on the way out of the pits as well. There we go, and that looked pretty much okay to me. And they've been told very, very deliberately there that you're not allowed to speed on the way down the pit lane or out of the pit lane, and the penalties are severe. We're talking about a minute penalty added on for speeding in the pit lane, because obviously stop-and-go penalties don't work very well in sprint races, but they can do what they have chosen to go for. So that has left Jesse Chamberlain now in 2nd position in front of Kevin Molyneux and Gary Lawrence, but all 3 of those drivers have yet to make their mandatory pit stop. There's Andy Baker. Carl Rossin behind him is into the pits as well. Andy Baker given the signal. I think he needed to look out the window a little bit better to see that signal. He lost about 1.5 seconds just in reaction times there, but it is quite tricky when you've got the helmet on as well to look out of the windscreen and see your mechanic, especially if he just happens to be standing on that pillar of the car on the left-hand corner, which is basically the blind spot. You've got a race helmet on and the visor. You've got to look across and make sure your mechanic is giving you the signal. Oh, goodness me. Mechanic very nearly getting hit there as they go through. And Kevin Molyneux accidentally in reverse gear, rolling the car backwards. So it hasn't really changed anything. But both pit stops there pretty fast. And Jesse Chamberlain's got Kevin Molyneux right behind him as they leave the pits. There's Philip Churchill. Left rear Velcro, front Velcro, off you go. That was neat and tidy for Philip Churchill. Good pit stop there. And obviously the mechanics have to be very careful about how they go about this. Up the inside comes Kevin Molyneux, side by side again with Jesse Chamberlain. Very close, and they're still side by side as they come up towards the Yentwood corner. Now here's the race leader, Adam Southgate. He's going to get up the inside of Hugh Pert, who leads the way here in the 924s, I do believe. Carl Rossin has already made his mandatory pit stop, so too has Richard Matthews. I don't think it's going to be long before Hugh Pert does the same thing, unless he has already done so, of course. But Adam Southgate is getting towards the end of that pit stop window. So is he going to dive into the pits this time? Yes, he does. So Southgate swings the car straight in and through the left-hander for the pit stop. Now, he's going to get on the brakes, and he's timed this to perfection. They'll obviously have done tests to see what sort of speed they will do at what revs per minute limit in which gear. They'll have done things like this to test it. Into the pits comes Gary Lawrence as well. So first and second place into the pits at the same time, and Hugh Pert does the same thing. So there is some good work there from Avis Consulting's mechanics there. A good work and a good performance there, just waving their drivers in. Hugh Pert is into the pits as well. Looks like someone else is going to be coming in. Of course, it is Gary Lawrence. So the team's obviously designating one person to do the Velcro on the front and rear windscreen. Very nice signalling there in the 93. That's a very quick pit stop for Gary Lawrence. Here come the two men he's racing against. That is Kevin Molyneux and Jesse Chamberlain. How's he going to filter back out? Have they beaten him out of the pits? That's going to be the interesting bit there. I think they have done. Molyneux sweeps by, so too does Jesse Chamberlain on the right side. Gary Lawrence may get a chance to come straight back up the inside into Dean Hairpin, but unfortunately he's just missed out on the positions there. Now Nick Hull is currently doing an absolutely fantastic job, and he's ahead of all of them. So Nick Hull was the first one to make the pit stop, and look, he's several seconds in front of these guys. So the real winner from these pit stops is Nick Hull, just going out there and getting the first pit stop done as soon as possible. It's the perfect strategy. He's now got a bit of space between himself and Kevin Molyneux in third position. Fourth is Chamberlain, fifth is Lawrence, and they've got another 8 minutes or so of racing, not even that, to get going. So the pit stop window is about to close, if it has not already done so by the end of this lap. And we are getting reports there's not a single penalty to hand out, which is really good. So the drivers were obviously told very clearly in the briefing exactly how the mandatory pit stop phase was going to work. The drivers asked as many questions as they possibly could to get a better understanding of it, and they've got it done very well. Now Gary Lawrence is going to get a good opportunity here, as Molyneux and Chamberlain are going to be side by side, dicing for third position, and Lawrence could get a good run off the throttle. Are they going to be three alongside each other? Yes, it's three wide down the school straight. Lawrence cuts across on Chamberlain and across on Molyneux and gets himself from fifth to third, but goes off on the grass. Get it back quickly. Oh, Molyneux's not able to get on the inside. Chamberlain's going to come around the outside. And that's all fine and dandy, but Molyneux's got a good run on Gary Lawrence as they come down the straight. There's the board up the top of the gantry. Pit lane closed is what they will see. We could see the other side of it, of course, pit lane open. That was what they saw 7 minutes ago. So now the mandatory pit stop phase is over. Everybody's taken a mandatory pit stop, so there's not going to be any penalties handed out. Nobody was speeding in the pits either, so good behaviour from all of the drivers. Whoa, Chamberlain moves across the stop. Molyneux coming through, and he almost goes into the side of Gary Lawrence. Goodness me. Great racing from these three as they battle and squabble over that third step of the podium. They all want it very badly indeed. And as they come through Yentwood, they go up the crest, up towards Chapman Curve, and Lawrence still hanging on in front of Molyneux and Chamberlain. There's about 5.5 minutes left of this race, so they're definitely in the business end of this third of 3 races here at Rockingham, and they all want to get it done pretty quickly. So now is the opportunity for Kevin Molyneux to hold on in front of Chamberlain. Back on the power, up towards Greystands. Gary Lawrence is starting to check out in third position. A nice podium finish for him to end his weekend. Kevin Molyneux's had a good one, 2 seconds and a fourth. He can be pretty solid with that and very happy with it if that's the way it's going to finish. But Jesse Chamberlain is going to make sure it doesn't finish that way. He's going to try and come right round the outside of Molyneux at Tarzan, and they bang wheels. Oh, sliding sideways through that hairpin complex and up towards the school straight again. And Molyneux's going to have to let Chamberlain go, but he's going to cut straight across, goes one way, goes the other, trying to find a way through. Chamberlain does the sensible thing and sticks in the middle of the circuit, so Molyneux has to do all of the guesswork. And that was beautifully handled there by Jesse Chamberlain as he now runs in fourth position. Molyneux looked like he missed a gear there, and he's down to fifth position, a little way further back. So Gary Lawrence in third, Chamberlain in fourth, and Molyneux in fifth position as we get into the closing stages of the race here at Rockingham. And for Adam Southgate, I think he has only got 2.5 laps or so left of this Rockingham circuit to negotiate. It's been a really exciting weekend for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. This reverse grid race combined with the mandatory pit stop has been pretty awesome as Jesse Chamberlain very nearly goes into the door of Gary Lawrence, gets the car stopped at exactly the right moment as they come up towards Yentwood, in through the right-hander. Plenty of curb for Kevin Molyneux as he's trying to close up once again on Chamberlain to move at least into P4 once more. There is our 924 leader, Hugh Pert, having the season of his life in 2018. And he has come out of the pit stop phase very well indeed, looking very smart and comfortable at the moment. Third position, still up for grabs between these three. Still it's Gary Lawrence, Jesse Chamberlain and Kevin Molyneux, and still nobody is clear who's going to get it. Back on board with Gary Lawrence, up towards Greystands. Take it nice and carefully through the left-hander. There's Nick Hull, who is on course for his best ever result in the championship in second place. He's had a bag full of third positions, but clearly mandatory pit stop racing is where Nick Hull excels, as he is in second position in front of Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux, and he's quite a way in front of them as Chamberlain gets the power down very early through Tarzan. The back end steps out, and he looks more like a rallycross driver than he does a circuit racer at that point. But Molyneux's going to get alongside as a result of it. Chamberlain moves to cover. Good defence, good offence, as the two of them are battling away brilliantly for 4th position in the hope that Gary Lawrence in front of them makes a mistake so that they can be squabbling over the 3rd and final step of the podium. And by my maths, Adam Southgate up in front of them in the lead of the race is now on the penultimate lap. So 2 laps to go for these guys battling away over 3rd. Kevin Molyneux again trying to get one over on Jesse Chamberlain as they go through the banking. He sits behind him through the slipstream. This is where he can really gain some speed. Has he got the bravery on the brakes down into the braking zone? Oh, you've got to be careful there. You don't want to overshoot. And in through the hairpin, no difficulties at all for our men in 3rd, 4th and 5th. Gary Lawrence still there in front of Jesse Chamberlain and Dolly Molly himself, Kevin Molyneux, finishing off his Rockingham weekend in style. It's been a real step forward for Kevin Molyneux. Gary Lawrence, though, has been able to put his car into the podium positions several times over the course of the weekend, so he can be happy with his lot here if he finishes in 3rd place. And Jesse Chamberlain, I think this is the weekend he's really established himself as one of the main guard at the front end of the grid. No longer is he a rookie to the championship, he is well and truly an established member of the elite at the front end. Adam Southgate is going to lap Carl Rossin, who is doing a fantastic job in the 924 class, and has really made the pit stop phase work well for him too. The 45, Adam Southgate is going to come out of the final turn, and he will go on to his final lap here at Rockingham, and this is going to be the hat-trick. It's been an absolutely incredible run from Adam Southgate all season. He got the double at Alton Park, he got the triple, he got 2 out of 3 at Knockhill, I should say, and James Coleman was the only one who took a victory off him that day. But this is going to be Adam Southgate's 6th straight victory, because he got the triple hat-trick of wins at Cadwell Park and now is looking likely to do the same thing here at Rockingham. You could argue he's been largely unchallenged over the course of the weekend, but we said that about Ed Hayes last year, and it didn't make the impressive performance of the 2017 Championship campaign from Ed Hayes any less impressive. So Adam Southgate is doing exactly what Ed Hayes did last year, which was lead by example, control the pace of the race, look after the car, trust the mechanics to give him a good set of wheels, and boy have they given him the best car on the grid in 2018. This car is definitely a shadow of its former self. It's a much stronger beast, and Adam Southgate is absolutely simpatico with it at the moment. As he goes down towards Gracelands for the last time, this is going to be a beautiful clean sweep. His 3rd clean sweep of the season, winning every race that he starts in the mix. And Adam Southgate is literally cantering at cruise control to the championship in his current pace. Now, 3rd position, Lawrence is being caught by Chamberlain and Molyneux on this last lap. This could change in the final couple of corners, so we need to keep an eye on this one wherever we can. But we need to congratulate this man who's coming down the school straight for the last time into the braking zone, turn in for the left-hander for the Brook chicane. Plenty of curb. You've got so much time, Adam. Just ease it in. No panic, no stress, no fuss, no bother. And out of the final turn, Adam Southgate wins not 1 race this weekend, not 2 races this weekend, but the triple. He gets the hat-trick. And the championship is not too far away now. Nick Hull gets his best ever result in the championship in 2nd place from Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux. Goodwin, Churchill, Baker and Ludford are the only other finishers, with Jamie Callender retiring. Carl Rossin gets the victory in the 924 race in front of Hugh Pert, with Richard Matthews in 3rd, ahead of the retiree Gavin Johnson. Great weekend. And in the championship standings, it means that Adam Southgate's got a 42-point lead over Kevin Molyneux, with Nick Hull, Gary Lawrence and James Coleman giving chase. Kevin Ludford in the top 6, just ahead of Jesse Chamberlain as well, with Andrew Baker, Porter and Hayes in the top 10. Hugh Pert leads the 924 championship by just 8.5 points from Johnson, Rossin, Rick Styron from his Alton Park sojourn, and David Jones in the top 5.
Adam, reverse grids, pit stops, whatever the organisers throw at you, it doesn't seem to stop you walking away with the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship, does it?
Well, it didn't stop me this weekend, I suppose, yeah. Still a way to go in the championship. But yeah, good fun race, lovely clean racing as well. Just kind of picking my way through the pack. And luckily I managed to get into the lead before the pit stops, which made them a bit easier. I think it's, it would be really interesting behind me. I'd love to watch the footage.
Nick, congratulations. From what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first time you've had a 2nd place.
It's the first time I've had a 2nd for a long time, yeah, so I've had them before, but yeah, it's a long time since I've had one, so that was brilliant fun, absolutely brilliant fun. The only trouble is I hadn't got a clue, I couldn't see my pit board, just hadn't got a clue where I was, so I thought I'd come 4th actually, but it shows you. But it was brilliant fun, great. First time we've done the pit stop, and I think everyone probably feels the same, it was good fun.
What a thrilling final race in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. The introduction of the pit stops made it something really worth watching. The question is, can anyone beat Adam Southgate? Join us next time at Castle Combe to find out.